We're live.
Hi.
We're married. It's a lab. That was... You're going to just leave me alone on that one? Apparently I got to carry this show now?
Always.
Oh my gosh. We're live with the Married Lab today. It's Thursday. We don't usually do Married Lab on Thursday. We usually do it on Friday, right? Well, the reason for that is Date Night Friday. And we have a WKO coming up on Saturday. So we want to get some good rest and not worry about running our show too late.
Yes.
And we're also doing this as part of mostly a lot of housekeeping today. There's a number of things we need to cover. One of which is, hey, I haven't run Everyman this week, and I haven't run Everyman for a couple weeks now. Mostly because I'm kind of running low on content on that one. Everyman format has been updated on the page, but I do want to take a second to share an Everyman format tournament given to us by Ricky Yell, who's running a tournament out in Reading, Pennsylvania. See, I said it right, even though it reads like reading. That's actually pronounced Reading.
Wait, didn't we find out that it's actually like the Reading Rainbow and now, the Reading...
No, Amber, it is still
Reading?
the Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton.
Shut up. That's not at all what I meant to say.
The Reading Rainbow.
Railway, I was talking about Monopoly.
Yes, Amber, it is the Reading Railroad in Monopoly. That said, they're running a 300-point Everyman project tournament, and I believe it is. I'm also been hearing that there's going to be a Winamap down in California, courtesy of Aaron Cantu and friends. This one's going to be run at Golden Eagles Comics. Let's show you a quick. Well, blam! Look at that. So Golden Eagles comics in Reading, Pennsylvania. 300 points, Everyman. You've even got a beautiful. This is why I made that link, guys. It is a Winamap event, so that's one of the beauties of the Rock Winamaps is you can run any format you want for them. So and get your a couple points towards nationals, worlds, whatever. Don't hit the stop streaming button, Jason. That would have been
not
embarrassing.
at all what you want.
Yeah, so Golden Eagles Comics in Reading, Pennsylvania. Check them out this coming Sunday. So for St. Patrick's Day, as it were. What else we got? Amber, you got something in the docket right now.
What?
You're working on something that needs to get released, Amber.
Oh, yeah. Very, very confused by that.
We need you in front of the camera more often, Amber.
Yeah, we do. I have a move and attack that I have been promising for a while now. I put out part 1. Part 2 is coming, I swear. It is. It is. Because we're also going to be filming more move and attack, and the fact that our WKO is quite a ways away from where we currently live. And that gives us lots of time to ask questions in the cars.
Links in the description below, guys, if you want to check it out. I like covered your face while you were... Link is in the description below to submit your questions. Completely anonymous unless you want to put your name in it. It's up to you. It's pretty much free form. It just says, question for move and attack, and actually has a line that says answer, which is funny because your answer to that question is a question. You are providing us with a... Amber's... I could just smell the smoke in Amber's head. Just fuming out of her ears. It's like, wait, hold on, what? So check that out as well. Any more housekeeping we got to do, Amber? Patreon action tokens are a little delayed from us. Sorry. We'll get them out. We'll be stuffing those envelopes tonight.
They were delayed coming into us, so we're also...
Thanks, Canada Post.
Yeah. We're also a little delayed getting them out. They should be up very soon. I think we'll actually have them in the mailbox tomorrow. Whether or not they actually get mailed out tomorrow may not be till Monday.
They'll be mailed out tomorrow.
We will have them. I said we will have them in the mailbox tomorrow. I don't know if Canada Post will mail them tomorrow.
Yeah. They make 2 runs on the post boxes. It's all good. I've seen them do it.
I don't know how mail works.
Well, you see, we put the mail in the mailbox, Amber, and then over the course of the day, somebody who works for Canada Post will approach the mailbox in a car labeled Canada Post. They will take the bag that is inside the mailbox out of said mailbox, put it in their car, then they will put a new bag in, and then they are done. And that, so.
In today's Explain It Like I'm 5.
Oh my goodness. So Amber, what does it feel like to be playing HeroClix again?
That feels good, guys. I'm excited. I don't know why I agreed to do the show today. Clearly, I am not awake enough for this.
As she puts down a very sugar-filled cream soda.
Yeah.
So you think you're comfortable with your team for the WKO this weekend?
I am excited to play my team. I think it is one of the few teams right now that I can completely wrap my head around as to what I'm supposed to be doing. I do have to remember that every time I hit with Starro that I make more Starro fights. So thank you to, I don't remember the name, but thank you to whoever was asking the other question about bystanders today in the Rock Judges forum, because you totally, there was a link to Starro, and I was like, ooh, Starro rules, I should look at those. All right, I make Starro fights. So then I don't have to worry about losing my number, because then I eat one to drop a defense, and then as long as I hit, I make a new one. And then I get to put it adjacent to the hit character. So then I can actually kind of reposition if I need to, too. Yes, and because it's going to be a new star fight, then I can sidestep again if I need to. These are all things that have now gone through my head. These are all things that went through my head at like 6 o'clock this morning as I sat there looking at my Facebook, getting ready for work.
I just can't wait till she remembers the existence of her walking woods.
Yeah, it'll get there. It'll be like round 5 of the tournament on Saturday, but it'll get there.
It'll be against me.
Yeah.
It's the one game we actually play against each other. It's like, oh, now she remembers how the walking woods work. I tell you, she plays me in practice, and she's totally playing this weird external meta game where she's messing with me. You know, her own meta game is, how does that work? I don't understand this team, Jason. This team makes no sense to me. And then she just pulls it all out of her rear end in the tournament. She used to do this in Versus System to me too. The one Versus System tournament we went to. You don't remember that?
Well, I remember that.
You almost beat me, and I was like, what is going on? Who is this player?
It's because you gave me a deck I understood. And it was Superman.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah, I'm kind of excited. I built a new team. Can you imagine? I'm not running monsters, guys.
Whee!
I mean, this team very much still reeks of Jason.
Yes.
Being just there's so much Jason all over this team. I just Jasoned all over it.
There is very much a style of play that is just Jason.
If it starts with 10 or more figures, it's very likely me. If it doesn't start with 10 or more figures, but eventually has 10 or more figures, it's probably a team I've come up with. Yeah, I'm trying. So Amber's running Cosmic. I'm running Scientists.
Yes.
We already showed our patrons the teams. It was kind of a. And actually I showed a couple of the other guys on the Metal Lab my team and Emily my team. And you know what universal response I got about this was?
What a Jason team.
What a Jason team!
For the last Mary Lab last week.
Yep.
Yeah, that was last week. I'm essentially playing the same team. I am just playing it now with Star Fox, which for whatever reason, when I was talking about it last week, I was convinced he had traded Sidestep. He does not. I don't know why I thought that.
Why did you think that?
No, actually.
How many times did you sidestep in that game?
No. It just came to me why I thought that. Because when the first time I played him, I pulled him in the pre-release.
Mm-hmm.
I played him with Infinity. And she moves people around. And that's why I thought he had sidestep, because I was doing a lot of extra maneuvering using Infinity's power.
You've confused me sufficiently that I now have to look at both characters. It's like, she's making things up.
No, I swear, this one's real. I promise this one is real. Infinity has a power where she's a free action and she gets to move somebody that's adjacent to her to another square that's
Oh, yeah,
adjacent
that
to
one.
her.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
And I use that constantly. Also, he has sidestep on later clicks.
Not the first one.
I point to the screen that you guys can't see. But
they also won't see you point to it if I go to that screen.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so
Here.
I think that's what it was.
That's what we're looking at. Not whatever you guys just saw.
We have no idea what that was.
I know exactly what that was. I accidentally showed the OBS screen, or this is the main screen.
Oh,
and if we try to show OBS, you get this Wonderland effect. It's pretty obnoxious.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe I think that's what it is. He just kept taking damage or something, and that's why I was like, oh, he's got sidestep. Because I was always at a later point in my dial.
Fair enough. I mean, it doesn't help that so much of that game was problematic while we were playing. At least so much of what I was doing. Like, it was my first time playing Iron Man, and I totally forgot to roll damage for him every single time. And I was sitting there in bed. We were on our way to bed, and I'm doing this. I'm like, I forgot to roll for Iron Man.
This is how much HeroClix affects us.
Yeah. And what was worse is the final move where I killed your Moondragon, not the deciding factor. The deciding factor was killing your Groot in the end.
Yeah.
But that attack I made against there's so much against the rules on that attack I made against your Moondragon, because it was a Quake targeting multiple characters. And as a result, because your Moondragon is a cosmic entity, it can't be targeted as well as other figures. It can only be its own target, and that was obnoxious. So, yeah, I screwed up everything on that one. So we'll.
But that is why it's listed as a practice game.
Yeah, Pracky, bro. It was Pracky. Is that I actually named it WKO Pracky.
Bro, I think you actually even put.
Did I put Pracky Bro in our own channel?
I think you did.
Have we been watching too much Letterkenny?
Well, that's subjective. Can you really have too?
I mean, when it comes down to it, there isn't too much Letterkenny to watch. There are 36 episodes over 6 seasons.
That's true.
So, yeah, it is called WKO Pracky, bro. Fair enough. Well, we just spent like minutes talking about that.
This is what happens on the Married Lab. We don't talk HeroClix.
We talk nonsense. Speaking of talking HeroClix, Gamma stuff.
Oh yeah!
Speaking of,
that was not intentional. I want to add, for anybody that realizes what we're talking about right now.
Pun not intended. We got our first look at the WKO figures, or WWE figures that they're planning on making for the W. Honestly, it's the only thing we shared on our Facebook. It was
because we were literally sitting at the kitchen table. Jason and Aiden were having a practice game, and I was like, "No, guys, I have to stop you right now because you need to look at this."
Yeah. So there she be. Our first 5 figures. There's only 5. I only see 5.
And
there's a big open white space in the top right. I don't understand why.
It took me a while to realize what you were trying to get at there. Honestly, it's just every time I see this picture, I gravitate directly towards Charlotte. And I think it's just because of the pose that she's doing, her full, like, I am the queen pose. But, like, it just so... I didn't even notice that Demon Balor was there until you pointed out.
The Demon Balor?
I didn't see it because he's doing his jump pose.
He's doing the coup de grace.
Yeah. And then... with Rhonda as well. I didn't realize it was her until you pointed it out, but I just wasn't looking that closely at it. But actually, it's a little hard to see, but you can tell it does say, like, Rowdy on her chest.
Well, yeah, it's also the colors. I'm more impressed with how quickly that model came out, because we saw Ronda Rousey jump off of the top, like, once.
Yeah.
And it was against Nia Jax, and you could see the look of terror in her eyes. It's like, I gotta trust her to catch me. So, but yeah, we got a little bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Macho Man, he's one of my top 2 favorite wrestlers of all time. Finn Balor is my current favorite. Like, I like him in the modern era of wrestling. Charlotte is an awesome wrestler. I don't know, what's the white space up here? It's John Cena. Joke's over. The joke's been beaten to death.
I was gonna say not even us, everybody has beat that joke to death long before this preview even, like, the announcement.
Hey, Amber, you know what would be funny? Is if they gave John Cena stealth.
Woof. Sorry, I'm actually very tired of that joke. But yeah, John Cena's up on the right. Of course, there's a John Cena figure. Now, they also, while they were there, reports are in that the way that they're packaging this is kind of toy-like. Non-blind figures that people, you'll be able to know what you're picking up off the shelf. This is a double-edged sword. It's fantastic. I know what I'm getting, and I'm getting the Macho Man.
I'm actually excited, mostly because me being a more modern wrestling fan, where I only got into professional wrestling about 2 years ago now, 2.5 years, and so like I know of Steve Austin and I know Macho Man, but what I was a little worried with if it being blind pack, like I could open up a blind pack and be like, oh, I don't know who these wrestlers are. But being able to actually go to the shelf and pick out the figures that I want, being able to go into a shop with our daughter, who's a huge wrestling fan, and have her pick out the figures that she wants, that's a huge thing.
Psst, make a Bailey.
Yeah, please.
We need that to happen for our daughter. She would lose her mind. Now, here's the other edge of this double-edged sword. Unfortunately, when you know what you're getting, this incentivizes on-board quality. Now, the figures will look beautiful, but I feel like the dials, that game part, is now going to be slightly disincentivized for players, because let's not kid ourselves. On the higher end of the spectrum, that's where we get our power. We know this now in the game of HeroClix. It's not very frequently that much below rare really makes any noise in the game. There are good uncommons and commons here and there, but traditionally they are great figures. The other reason, and I know why they're doing this, is all WWE fan based. WWE fans don't buy blind product. They just don't. They know what they're getting. They know what they want. They're going to get it. Pull it out right now. But can I just tell you about wrestling fans, guys, and their craziness when it comes to toys? Don't sit and wait. If you're going to get these, get them. Because actual wrestling fans are going to want to get these, and then wrestling fans in about 20, 30, 15 to 20 years, these are going to be a hot ticket item for big time wrestling fans, especially if they don't overproduce them. If they're in limited quantity, limited run, and they don't overproduce them, you could definitely see these things spike in. Sorry, so I'm doing that toy collector thing, so be aware of that. But ultimately, where I was going with before I went on another one of my tangents was that I'm unfortunately not expecting fantastic dials out of non-blind packs now, and I would love to be proven wrong. Please prove me wrong.
Prove him wrong, dude.
Please. I would love to be wrong, because I would love to make a meta team with the Demon Balor and with Macho Man and, watch my last lap. Because me and Tom came up with some great ideas for some figures. In fact, he came up with a version of the Demon Balor, and I came up with a version of Macho Man on that episode.
Nice.
And it was like, woo! And that also birthed another thing. We put a survey out on our Facebook. If you're on our Facebook, facebook.com/clicks, I put a survey out. And because a lot of people really liked what me and Tom did on Monday, which was, if you watch the show back, I really hope the big yellow letters are obvious. We played fantasy booking with the dials. As in, we kind of came up with a couple of HeroClix dials based on wrestlers using certain design philosophies. Our design philosophy was, this is made in the world of pro wrestling. So, yeah, they're comic booky. We've also kind of designed playable dials of, I made Macho Man and Roman Reigns, and he made Finn Balor, Demon Balor, and I say Balor specifically, like, Balor.
Balor.
And what was his classic wrestler? Jake the Snake Roberts. And we had some fun with that. It was really cool to make that have that exercise. And because it went over so well, what we're going to do, because we have an idea of some of the figures that are going to be there, that's not going to stop us from doing one special episode on April 4th. Hopefully, I got to get in touch with Tom on that one to be absolutely sure. On April 4th, with a few guests, one or two, depends on whether or not one of them gets back to me. One of them has confirmed. We are going to play fantasy booking with some dials on the Thursday, April 4th, which is the Thursday before WrestleMania. Gives us a couple weeks to come up with some really refined dials on fantasy figures that we want to make. And just kind of, we're each going to do like our favorite wrestler and a wrestler we would really like to see and kind of design it from there. We're not going to tell each other what they are about beforehand until like the day or two before so that I can set up all the stuff so that it can all be on screen beautifully and everything like that. But it was, I think it was 61 to 39% in favor of an episode. So I'm not going to do a whole show on that. It would have been nice to do that, but honestly, if you actually use some design head for it, it's a bit of a time-consuming process. And we made those, I'm not going to lie, we made those dials that day, or at least I did. I don't know if Tom already had his idea for his dials, but I made those dials on the Monday afternoon. And I was briefly, like, would be my first draft run. This was not like my Dr. Doom where I've been planning it for years. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, wrestling figures are coming. But there's another thing they announced. Another set.
There's a few things that
we don't
out of it.
We don't really have the pictures of them because we didn't. We
only
weren't as
shared
excited about them as we were for the WWE. But I know Amber is excited for the Regenesis set.
Yes. And I recently started going back and reading some old X-Men comics, and I think I just finished I just finished Necrosha leading into Second Coming, and which then leads into Schism and Regenesis, which I plan on reading as well. I know the basic storylines of a lot of what happened because I read like comics around it without reading the main storylines. Anyways, what Regenesis is going to be for HeroClix is going to be our summer event, and now for the first time they're doing it as a countertop display, so a gravity feed, which will be pretty interesting to figure out how that's going to work. Now, the information that we had come out of Gamma for this is that there are actually going to be 2 versions of every figure.
I thought it was every card.
No, the figures are actually different color bases too.
But I swear I only saw one dial on both of them. That seems inefficient.
Regardless of the efficiency.
Sure.
We don't have any
speculation.
Solid evidence other than the fact that some of the pictures show them with a black dial, some of the pictures do show them with the colored dials. And then we have seen cards of the cards are printed differently. The cards that are not colored, all of them have a trait that say, I'm with Wolverine, I'm with Cyclops. And if they're with Wolverine, they have a trait that says, if this character is part of a Jean Grey School of Higher Learning theme team, replace them with X figure from the set. And then you get their colored figure. And then same with Cyclops. So it would be like, I'm with Cyclops, replace this figure. They're the blue dials. So it seems like there's going to kind of fill that, pad the numbers of the set. I don't know how that's going to work when it comes down to getting a gravity feed, because I don't know if the figures are going to be packaged together, whether or not, like Jason said, it's just a different card, like if it's one card and you just kind of flip it. I don't know how they're gonna do this, because unfortunately we weren't at Gamma to get that presentation, and the only thing that really came out of it are the slides without anybody that went to Gamma really saying how this is going to work. So we're speculating off of the pictures that we got out of it. But it does seem like some pretty cool stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of the cards that kind of came out is that they're very fuzzy. So I could only make out Rachel Summers. That's how I know the trait is there, because I could read hers at least.
Yeah, there's 2 cards here.
Yeah.
And one card is I stand with Wolverine, and then you use that card, and there'll be a different trait on each one. And that's going to be really the only difference, because if you actually look at the defense power that's on there, you don't want to be. I could show you this, but it's going to be ugly as sin. So
there's nothing really to read.
This is
from
what
it.
we're working off of here, guys. So,
yeah.
Just so everybody knows why I'm not really showing
And
people.
from what we can even see here is everything powers wise, traits wise, like pretty much everything is the same, other than that, hey, I'm going to have which team, which faction they're part of. There's no information so far that I have seen as to how this format is going to work.
Yeah, Gambit stands in the orange.
Yeah. See, because then there's Gambit with the black
prizes.
dial. Oh, okay, now that makes more sense.
Because that's an Age of Apocalypse. What is the Age of, or what is Apocalypse Death? Gambit have to. Sorry, we're gonna show you. I'm pointing. This one you can see. There's clearly 2 Horseman Death versions. We got Archangel and Gambit.
Okay.
And then we have Magneto and Mirage at the bottom. And these are obviously prize figures.
Yeah, because that's what confused me, because I was like, oh, there's 2 Gambits.
Example of a few prize figures.
Reading is important, guys. You know what we've always said?
That's why I was telling you, it's not the Redding Rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay. So it looks like they're going to come to just with two cards.
Yeah.
As to which way you're going to play them.
One trait or the other.
Yeah.
All right. The other really cool information. There was one other cool thing. We have to share this.
Really cool thing.
This was cool. Dark Phoenix Saga.
We knew that the X-Men animated series was coming out.
Yep.
It has a subtitle now. It is the Dark Phoenix Saga, and it is going to feature colossal boosters.
Woo!
Now,
Colossal boosters!
What I'm hoping with when they say colossal boosters, that they're purposely saying it as a colossal booster and not a super booster, and that we're going to see it in the style of Avengers Infinity.
I'm positive.
Everything comes with a colossal instead of getting just a super booster.
Yeah, because it's either that or they spoiled every single colossal in the set.
That's true.
Because
on a slide that we didn't show you is the Dark Phoenix, which looks fantastic.
There's a Dark Phoenix, there's a Sentinel, there's a Nimrod, all colossals. There's also a colossal Iceman, the Megazord style Iceman. There's a colossal stealth Sentinel, and then there was a
colossal Mojo.
Yep, colossal Mojo.
There was one other character that I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Search. Yeah, there it is. The sword thing. I don't know.
That is I think that's an Apocalypse thing. I don't know. You should know better than me. You're reading all 18,000 X-Men comics right now. So, but when somebody shared, I'm gonna just go preview monitor here. Somebody shared this, the page that this was in. Somebody thought that this was like a Frost Giant or something, and then somebody said, no, this is Iceman, and it showed this Iceman Megazord thing that he had done.
There's the Stealth Sentinel.
Yeah, there's a Stealth Sentinel. There's Mojo, and then there's this guy. Somebody. Space Knight, I guess. No, it's a Shadow King. That's what it was. It's Shadow King.
Cool.
Yeah. There's also a good chance if we have the Sentinel, we have this. Somebody originally thought this was gonna be Astral Professor X. So.
And there was a very brief kind of we didn't touch on is for the first time we are going to actually get that version of Morph in HeroClix. The
animated series version. Whoops, sorry.
The animated series 90s Morph. We have had Morph in HeroClix before, but it was the Exiles Morph.
Look, he's like half Wolverine on that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, overall, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming from Gamma. That's all a bunch of hearsay and conjecture. But one important thing, what did come out of Gamma, I was right. There is not going to be Transformers. There's not going to be G.I. Joe. There's not going to be My Little Pony hero clicks.
For those of you that are interested in what those are, they are going to be like their D&D line, where they are unpainted minis being sold specifically so that painters and collectors can paint them.
I mean, those Transformers are going to fly.
Oh, gotcha.
The Transformer model making community is massive and ridiculous.
I actually want to see the scale on the My Little Ponies, because that might be something to kind of just pick up and have an activity with our daughter.
Yeah. But yeah, so Gamma information was there. I mean, we started talking about the WWE stuff, and that was the only stuff that mattered. We then ended up leading into that other stuff. But with WKO this weekend, how do you think you're going to do?
I think I'm going to do better than I think I'm going to do. In the sense that, like, I have a habit of going in and being like, oh, I'm not going to do very well with this playing. That's been my mentality lately, and only because I don't get to play very often. I'm very rusty when I play. But I feel like this team is something similar enough to teams that I've played before that I can just make it go. The only thing I think my biggest worry going into this is I just have not been paying enough attention to what the meta is, or even what the landscape of the game is right now. There's a lot of figures out there that this is all on me too. There's a lot of figures out there that are popular that I just haven't paid attention as to what they do. I played a practice game against our buddy Aiden, and I was like, well, I kind of had an idea of what Morgan Le Fay did thanks to Devin, but I was like, I don't know what the Tri-Sentinel does. I don't know what this guy's Colossal Retaliation is. Can I do this to this figure? I don't know. Yeah, he had made like a player mistake, and I was like, Are you able to do that? And, like, it wasn't even an accusatory thing of, like, because he had moved and then went to make an attack, was lining himself up for attack, and I was like, are you allowed to do that? And it was just I don't know enough about these figures anymore to be like, hey, you can't do that. That's more of a, should I be paying attention to this? What's going on right now? Are you allowed to do that? Are you cheating and I'm letting you do it because I don't know what's going on anymore?
Could have been worse. You could have been the one giving him the bad advice to cheat. It's one of those things in practice. The best, I think, I should do like an episode talking about that, but I feel like the best form of practice is actually two players playing against each other with a third watching, and occasionally catching rules flubs, but also giving a little bit of live advice, especially when players are stuck. Just to open up that extra brain cell sometimes, just to see what another player is seeing, but also at the same time hold most of their criticisms and discussions for the end. It's kind of what I've been doing with what I did with Amber and Aiden, and what Amber failed to do while she was staring at her phone while the two of us were practicing, and then had nothing to offer at the end of the practice game.
Yeah, I was not paying attention at all. It was the end of the night. I was tired.
Excuses.
Always.
This is the little ball of excuses I have married right here. But honestly, it's a system that seemed to work, and we've also been practicing. We got that practice game on the camera. I'm calming down a lot more in practice than I used to. I'm cheating a little bit more, nice. Unfortunately, but
well, unintentionally.
But honestly, we're improving our practice, and hopefully Amber can actually start being more interested in doing it while we prep for other tournaments in the future, because we need that. Practice is important, no matter the quality of game that you play or how bad you end up doing. You got to get a feel for your team, and I think that's more the important part, is not knowing how to win, but knowing how to play it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Knowing how to play it comes first. Knowing how to win with it is second, and should kind of come organically of that.
Yeah, because as long as you know enough about your own team and how to play it, you can respond. Now, that's very important, and that's where I struggle usually, is I have this plan in my head as to what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do things, but without being able to anticipate as to what my opponent's doing. So the reaction isn't always there because I'm like, oh, they're doing something I didn't anticipate. Now I have to reform what I was gonna do. And sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to kind of just reorganize my thoughts of where I'm gonna go with that.
This is I'm pulling up a thing that's very important to all plans in all games of strategy. And it's this: no plan survives first contact with the enemy. It's an old saying, and it's a very true saying. Boxers say it, wrestlers say it, like professional wrestlers, UFC fighters say it, and war gamers and strategy players and HeroClix players all say, you have this plan, and then you come across this psycho across the table from you, and that plan, you got to throw it out the window, and you got to figure out how to play differently. And I think that's one of those weird things that gets missed, is reacting to weird. Because you make this plan, there's going to be 6 or 7 teams out there, and these are the teams I have to beat. But what about team 8 and 9? The weirdo. That weirdo over there. What is that nonsense he's playing? Why is it beating me? Right? And if you're not able to react on the spot, it's really hard. HeroClix is a weird game, unlike Magic the Gathering, where your deck in Magic the Gathering is either proactive or reactive. Being, I either play against you, or I play and you have to play against that. And, proactive versus reactive. Whereas HeroClix is more, I'm going to play this team, and I am either going to be reactive in the way I play it, or proactive and force you to act against what I am doing. That's one of the beauties of a tabletop strategy game, where everything's on the board. You have all your tools right off the bat. So, so we've kind of babbled our way through the day.
As we do.
This is a reminder, folks. Travel questions for Move and Attack down below in the comments. We'd love more and more questions. We just like to... It gives us something to do in the car. Because eventually you're done talking. And you run out of things to say. And then we need to... We like this activity as well, because it gives us time to open up to our fans. All right. But with that, we're going to move into questions from Facebook and from the chat. And Facebook had a really interesting one from our friend Sharif, who drove us through our first WKO in Ontario, or not WKO, Rock Super Qualifier.
That's still one of the best stories. It was actually on the page.
Still one of the. I was on the community page.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is still one of the highlight stories of HeroClix tournament going. Because he stopped in Toronto to pick a bunch of us up, and he was coming from Sudbury, and we went all the way to Windsor. So his total drive was about 9-10 hours.
Yeah.
And from where he picked us up was 4 hours. So we kind of met him in the halfway point.
It was also kind of like this kind of shining example of the HeroClix community, because at the time, we had known Sharif for maybe all of 5 hours. We had met him at a tournament, and he was like, yeah, I'll go.
We met him at a Winamap that we used as a qualifier for this tournament. So we'd worked in conjunction with the guy.
Excuse me.
So, Sharif wants to know, and then we're going to move into the Discord, our Patreon Discord. Before we do that, join us at patreon.com/RandomClicks if you want to join in on that. Sharif wants to know, with the amazing diversity we are seeing in the current meta, is there a figure or theme team that particularly stands out above the rest? All right. Well, given the current state of things, obviously Cosmic has the most variety of individual builds and all kind of function in a similar way. They're incredibly tough and hard to deal with, and that kind of stands out as the long slog grind team. But then, of course, there's that Avengers team that pushes its Hawkeyes all the way to the forefront with a stack of giant girls in your starting area, and it works, and it's good for as long as it is. Hey, July 1st is rotation. So bye-bye to that. What else really stands out? I mean, and things have come and gone. Like recently, Black Panther from Secret Wars Battle World Locally made a top 2 at WKO. So, if anything stood out, I say it's definitely Cosmic in all of its versions as a theme team. Be it the version with the Unimind, be it the version with Starro, be it the version... All versions include Lockjaw. So, good luck with that. But Amber, is there anything you want to add to that while I slink into the shadows?
It's actually kind of funny because my answer is very similar in the fact that I was going to say pretty much the exact same thing, but for the monster keyword, in the fact that there are so many good monsters that have come out recently, so many good figures that happen to have the monster keyword, but also just a lot of good variations on the team. Like, you can be like, oh, I'm playing a monster keyword team, but be completely different than the 5 other guys that are playing 5 other versions of the monster keyword team.
Yeah, that is another one. All right, so Nathaniel in the Discord. So I was thinking for the WKO 30 Flora Colossals. Hey. Cool. Where are those orange maps with the open air? I could use a couple free points out the start. Happy Pi Day. It's 3/14.
I got pie.
Colossal Mojo Jojo. No TNG DOS. Okay, cool. So yeah. It's out soon enough, right? June is the first of 2 gravity feeds for that.
I think so.
So we'll see what's up with that. Hopefully it's good. Like the first Star Trek had some good stuff in it.
Good figures.
So Shirtless Kirk stands out. He was part of one of my teams. I did fairly well at WKO with him, so I'm not going to complain about that. All right. So next we move to the chat. Excuse me. Why? Okay, so it looks like there's only one actual question, though. I do want to shout out to Ricky Yell for dropping their... I was thinking about how we could make the gobbledygooker in this game. It's a piece of internet history or wrestling history I'll tell you about one day.
Oh, I heard this story.
Oh, you've heard of the gobbledygooker? Yeah. The biggest disappointment in all of wrestling.
You were watching a video about it.
Okay. It's come up in so many videos. It's almost as synonymous with wrestling. The gobbledygooker and the Montreal Screwjob. I'm sure you've heard multiple times coming out of my iPad at the very least.
Yeah.
All right. But Elvis Asparicio, I hope I said that right. Why do you think WizKids are not making HeroClix versions of the Transformers line? That's not their decision to make. That is Hasbro's decision to make, because Hasbro makes toys, but not necessarily miniatures. They also make Magic the Gathering and their own collectible games, but again, they don't have a miniature logistics, as it were. Somebody explained this a while ago, and it kind of stuck with me. It resonated with me. So Hasbro already has collectible games of Transformers, My Little Pony, although I don't know if they still support the My Little Pony game, and Magic the Gathering, all of which they've made miniatures for via WizKids. But they've only made those miniatures to appease that degree of their market. They don't want self-competing products, and a self-competing product to a Transformers card game would be a collectible miniatures game, and they just don't want to do that. These are theirs, and Hasbro does have the rules, the guys that can make well-designed games. So they don't need WizKids implementing their stuff in there. So it's not a WizKids call on that. It is a Hasbro call through and through. So I don't know. Is there anything you want to add?
No, mine is like a very out there speculation that is very possibly not true at all. More than likely it's not true. But a little while back, someone actually made an entire Transformers HeroClix set. And made up mock boosters for it and everything, and got enough kind of notice that Hyper RPG ran with it, and they actually featured it on an episode of Indomitable, I believe, where they did a special episode of it where they actually had people come in, crack these boosters, and play with these completely, utterly custom Transformers set, but it was done full up commons, uncommons, rares, super rares, the whole set. It was made like an actual production run of a HeroClix set, And I don't know if that could cause anybody any problems. So
Well, that wouldn't. But if WizKids did that without permission.
yeah.
So it ultimately comes down to it's not WizKids. Too many people put too much on WizKids, and so many they make a very licensed game and a lot of licensed products. So stop blaming WizKids for not making things. Blame the people for not letting WizKids make the things. You know.
Trust me, they want to make it.
Oh boy, do they ever! The more licenses they can throw in the game, the more HeroClix they can sell. The more HeroClix they can sell, the more they can attract to people to the game. Can you imagine Magic players? No. Let's not talk about that. I don't want Magic players in my game. But that said, Magic players are gamers, and their game is expensive. And HeroClix, in bare comparison, in vast comparison, is very cheap in comparison. And as a result, they'll just kind of hop in, play the game as their side game to Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is my side game to HeroClix. And as a result, both games can coincide, and they could get the purchasers. But I don't think Hasbro is going to go and say, oh, we have this wonderful IP called Magic the Gathering, which is its own collectible game. So let's let another collectible game implement our stuff into it and thus cause confusion. That's how a lawyer, marketer is going to be thinking about this. And those will be the people that are saying, maybe not such a good idea. And then, there's multiple levels of approval on things sometimes too. Let's go back to Yu-Gi-Oh! And how Yu-Gi-Oh!
How many times did those previews pop up with not final image?
There was 2 or 3 levels of approval they had to go through with Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, and it wasn't even worth it. So ultimately that they have to be careful about what they let in. So if they're not, if ultimately a product owner is going to say, okay, but I don't want this in your competitive market, then they're just going to be like, that's fine. Because WizKids has definitely been pushing lately that everything coming out is going to be modern for a period of time. Ninja Turtles has been modern from the get-go. Star Trek was modern with the exception of the ships, which are technically a different game. Those are the only things that have come out that were just straight to Golden Age, or straight to not legal and HeroClix, really. So long and the short of it, I'm over answering the question, is it's not WizKids' fault when things don't get made. They want to make everything you think they're saying, nah, I'm not going to make for, with the exception of Killer Moth, is not spiteful. They're not being spiteful towards us, and they're not just arbitrarily not making things. They have to, when they make figures for Marvel sets, they have to go to Marvel and say, we want to make these figures. And they're going to be like, okay, cool, you can include those in this new Infinity War base set because we need Thanos in a set and we need Captain America in a set. You need to sell our movie as well as your game. And that's what's going to happen. That's why we have lots of Captain Americas, Iron Mans, and Thors. This is not WizKids' fault. This is Marvel's decision making. So there's just kind of keep that on the tip of your brain when you kind of go with, why didn't WizKids make this decision? It wasn't their decision to make. They make a licensed product. Are we good?
Oh, we're so good.
Okay. He also asks, and this is Elvis Asparicio. I've said it 2 different ways now. I wonder which one was right.
Neither.
Excellent. All right. I struggle with map placement at times. What are some things I can do to help me improve my map placement?
Count squares.
Yeah. What I personally do is I take the action token that I would place down for that character, and I put it in where I think I'm going to move that character. Then I look from that square and that I've placed this token, and I look what my danger zone is and what's going to happen to me, right? So if I place that action token as to where I'm going to put the character, I already have an idea of what I'm going to be doing, but I'm also getting an idea of what could possibly happen to my dude. You know what my biggest pet peeve with HeroClix players is? When they start telling me what I can and can't do when I'm not doing anything. It's like, I'm not doing anything yet. I am counting squares. I am planning my turn. Shut up. Oh my God. I actually gave Aiden a stern talking to about that the other day.
That's why I never just say unless it's something like blatantly breaking the rules. I never say you can't do that. I will more often than say, can you do that? Where it's, can you carry this guy? Can you move and attack? Do you ignore hindering? Can she fly?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Whereas because there's so often effects coming from other places where I can't look at a figure anymore and know everything. I can't answer those questions just by looking at the figure that you're moving. So and a lot of the times the answer is yes because of this. Great, now I have that information. But sometimes I'll, like, to no fault of their own, I'll catch an opponent and be like, oh, no, you're right, I can't do that. Because we as HeroClix players so often just get into our own heads or emotions of what we're doing. That sometimes little things like that is missed. Like, as we were saying during our practice game of having moved, a lot of talking and thought processes got worked out, and then they're like, oh, let's attack. But it's like, oh, but you just moved that figure, you can't attack. For map placement, there was actually a moment where Jason had... I'm going to go with the phrase praised me for it. And I'm not quite sure if that's the right word to be using in this situation, but we were in the underground cavern, and the Tri-Sentinel I was up against Tri-Sentinel. It can move through blocking, and when it does, it destroys it, but also damages anybody that is adjacent to that blocking. So with that information, I had to look at the map and be like, okay, well, that means that I need to find a place to put my 2x2 figure, or like one of my 2x2 figures, but also like my figures, to be like, I need to put these guys in a place where I'm away from blocking, I'm within my own range, I'm outside of their range, I'm not too close for them to just retaliate, I have to force them counter. So there was actually a lot of things that went into that decision, and I kind of just went off into a corner, whereas one of the very few areas of the map that's not completely closed in, where there's only like 4 squares of blocking, there's a section that's about like 5 or 6 squares around, and it's like this little alcove, and I went there because it was just, I wasn't going to get hit by any of the blocking. It would take my opponent's entire move and entire range to come to me, forcing them to come to me instead of overreaching myself. And after we were done, Jason was just like, oh, that was a very interesting move that you did, bringing that over there. And I was like, oh, I'm going to take that as a compliment.
I didn't say interesting. I said impressive.
Impressive, okay.
So that was praise.
That was praise. See, now I can't even remember things properly. I don't even know when he's complimenting me. But yeah, so just little things like that of map awareness, counting squares. I've gotten to a point where I'm counting it in my head as I'm visually looking at it. So a lot of times it looks like I'm staring at the map not doing anything. I'm actually mapping out my whole turn. But sometimes because people will be like, oh, it's your turn, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm counting squares. It may actually be better to physically count the squares. It might work easier.
Be busy.
Always
People
be busy.
He actually has a question about that later, so don't get too much into that one.
Okay.
All right. Next up, Charles White. I'm new starting, and I want to buy a box of something. Is there a best set still in rotation you think I should start with? Okay. If you want longevity of your figures, Earth X is a good start because it's the most recent set. But if it depends on how you're planning on getting into the game. If you're getting in on the competitive market, don't buy any boxes. Buy a bunch of figures for a team you're going to make, and then buy packs over time through sealed or whatever, right? But if you're going to buy a box, okay. So if you're just getting into the game and you want something for longevity and maybe a couple competitive figures here and there, Earth X is okay. Secret Wars Battle World, one of the more recent sets come out, has some good stuff. It doesn't stand out as particularly it's the greatest set in the world, but it is a good, fun set to play in. What else? Batman the Animated Series. If you like the animated series, play it. But and the Super Friends chases. You're like, if you get a brick of that, a half a case, you're looking at least a chase.
Yeah, the chases in that were ridiculous.
Avengers Infinity has the most currently competitive figures, I think. Between, like, you got the Star Fox, you got the Groot, you got, who else is in this? Gigantor or Namor, which was on the World Championship team. Infinity is a very playable figure. Like I said, Groot is in there. Don't necessarily plan on getting these, but these... The problem with the box is I can tell you get this box, get this box, get this box, because these figures are in the set. And you know what's going to happen? You're not going to get any of those. You're going to be pissed at me. That's a fact. But if you're looking to just get into the game, you're just starting and you're looking to play, and you're looking for something modern age as well, always start with the most recent set. And I say Earth X is where you should start on that one because it's a good, fun set, and it's a good starting ground set. Because it's the most recent one, you get more longevity as you're playing in tournaments. Then you start to build your collection from there. Get your individual singles from people or trades or whatever, and just acquire over time. That would be my suggestion. It's hard to say otherwise. As well, the Fast Forces or this is actually a starter set that comes with Earth X. Get that. That has your rule book. I cannot tell you the importance of the powers and abilities card. It is the most important piece of paper that you'd think it was made of gold with how frequently people just walk off with them too. Yeah. So.
Also, just how often they get referenced. Even veteran players that have been playing for so long, they'll be like, "Can I do this? Hey, you know what? Let's pull out the pack. Let's see what that actual wording is." Because sometimes you just need a reminder of the way that it's worded. Because, and I used to say it all the time, is that words are very important in HeroClix. The way that something is specifically worded, like, can change how something actually works in the game.
What is it? The professor from Tolarian Academy. He's a content creator for Magic the Gathering. He says it best. Reading the card explains the card in Magic. So reading the power explains the power 9 times out of 10 in HeroClix. Then there's that other 1 time out of 10 where it's like, oh, I gotta go on the win and figure out the interaction with another thing. And sometimes there's weird interactions. But that PAC and the cards that come with the characters are the 2 most important pieces of literature you need when it comes to playing the game. The rule book also helps as well. Elvis Aspericio, I think it was at the 3rd different pronunciation I've tried. Another question, what are some ideas on speeding up my gameplay? I have come to realize that I take a long time thinking during my turn and it comes off as slow play. There's 3 steps to speeding up your play. 1, play a lot of games of HeroClix. Like
muscle memory.
Turn it into muscle memory. Because if you're newer to the game, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But the more and more you play, the more and more you learn the next 2 steps. Because step 2 is use your opponent's turn to plan your turns. So ultimately, you make it's kind of like chess. You make 7 or 8 of your actions ahead of time, right? Or you make your first 2 or 3 turns. Your first turn. You take your first turn. You're done. Your opponent's got to take their first turn. What do you do now? You got to be planning what you're going to do on the next turn. Now, you make your big picture plan. This is the big picture plan. Okay? And over here is the small picture plan. You know what the small picture plan is? Your opponent did something weird. How do I deal with that? Or do I ignore what he just did? And that should only be a small part of your planning. So while your opponent is taking their turn, you take your turn. I am notorious for having incredibly quick turns, though I have slowed myself down a little bit. Part of that is, of course, my turns are now much bigger. But the third and most important thing is to always be busy. If you feel like you're taking a long time, make sure you're counting things, placing markers for memory's sake, because a lot of the long turns comes from forgetting what you were going to do in a previous action or another spot of your turn. Because a lot of the time, when it comes to planning a turn, you're planning all your actions all at once. And that will lead you to go, oh, what was I going to do again? And I think I will count 8 or 9 times sometimes to squares. So it's always best to, once I've figured out where I'm going to move to, and then if I'm going to attack from there, or I'm going to follow up with, that's what I kind of do from that. So to speed up your turn, first, play a lot of games. Second, plan your turn on your opponent's turn, and then add to the reactions during your turn. That should speed up your turn a lot more. And third, of course, is always be active during your turn and just paying attention to what you're doing. And that's, I think, being active on your turn when it's, not necessarily, if you're not thinking something that's necessarily legal, What I'll often do is I'll look up and I'll be like, okay, I'll look at the board and say, this is where I need to be. Can I do anything from here? And that's actually one of the things where I'll go more frequently than not. On turn 1 or 2 is like, I need to be here. Can I do? Nope, I can't do that. And I pull that token away and I start playing the rest of my turn. So always be busy kind of helps speed up taking away what you like. Take away what you can't do, and then playing what you can do.
Also, communication is really important in this game. And if you, like, I'll do this, where if I feel like I'm going slow, or like I catch myself in one of those moments where like I'm visualizing something in my head and I realize I haven't like physically moved in a while, I'll be like, sorry, I'm thinking. Like, communicating to your opponent, even if it seems like you're not doing anything, so that they know what it is, that you're paying attention, that you're there. Another thing that Jason had was working with me at doing, and I have to get back into the habit of doing that again. It's not necessarily to speed up my teams, but also just to help me think through my teams, was to actually talk out what you're doing. Like, even if, like, talk out your thought process if you need to. Be like, well, okay, so if I go here, then I can target this person, I can target that person. I'd have to make sure that I perplex before that. And then, so, like, thinking out your processor is almost a way of interacting with your opponent, too, while you're doing your turn. And it keeps them engaged, and then they're not thinking necessarily that, like, you're not doing anything, or you're slow playing, or you're taking too much time, because you're interacting, not necessarily with them, but you're there, you're communicating. It's very obvious that you're doing something, and especially if you have an awkward turn where they have done something completely unexpected, which I will say that to my turn, I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, hold on. Okay. Where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Give me a second. I need to think of this. And a lot of the times, just that simple amount of communication, of letting your opponent know that you were surprised, or you need a minute to think about something, or, hey, I need to read my card. Like, just always be communicating with your opponent is one of the best things. Even when you're a fast player, even when you're a veteran player, just letting there's so many times we get so caught up and used to our own muscle memory of playing this game that we completely stop communicating with each other, and then we're sitting there struggling, being like, what did you just do? What was that? Whose action was that? Who's attacking? Because it's one of those things where, like, that drives me crazy, where a bunch of, like, flurry of my opponent in its head is like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this, and there's a whole flurry on the board, and then he's like, okay, I need a 7. I'm like, to do what? Like, what are you doing? Who are you attacking? There's no communication here.
Yeah, I hate when people do that. Anyway. Next up, Lucian Carter. Will I see any of you in Elmvale on Saturday? You'll see both of us. And all the Metal Lab guys. And
yeah,
everyone.
I think everybody.
What's the Toronto crew's coming up?
I've had Emily mentioned something that we don't know. Yeah. Secret Santa. She's like, hey, it's the first time we're all going to be together.
Oh my god, I still haven't gotten my thing for that yet. Mid-March and we're doing Secret Santa. Why did we try to do this? I'm saying no next year. We're not doing this next year. Jay, shut up. We're not doing it next year. Yes, you'll see us in Elmvale on Saturday. I'm so glad we had that conversation over that conversation.
Sorry, you triggered a memory. I have to talk when things come up, because then otherwise I forget.
Charles White, do you have any suggestions on storing or organizing your HeroClix figures? I saw people using Fish Tackle Box for them, and I was just wondering how you guys store or organize your figurines. Well, let me tell you. We use these little art drawers we got at Costco to store our sets that we leave at home. To travel, we have dollar store. You want to go grab the big ones? They're out in the kitchen.
Yep.
You know, these wonderful dollar store bins. $4 at Dollarama locally. You get them.
Dollarama's a Canadian company.
Amber, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Everywhere, every time I turn around. Okay. These bins. Literally $4 thing there. This will hold colossals. It'll hold your play kit. This will hold anything. You just kind of have to be aware of what you might need to pad, what you need to take care of. Like there's a Starro, there's a Groot, and then there's a couple of extra dudes that were a little bit more as far as breakability are concerned.
It's got a handle.
But it's got a handle. It's got a couple switches. It's got colored lids, so it makes it very easy to do what you need. So, okay, this needs to be dealt with. All right. Are you ever surprised? Sorry. So yeah, we use that, and home containers can be whatever you want. Just make sure you have the storage space for them. I do not suggest shelves because figures don't. Like they don't take up as much space as you need. I feel like, unless you have like a wall that you could turn into shelves, in which case, by all means. All right. Are you ever surprised that Marvel or DC doesn't do more to promote this game? I feel like they would sell so many more of these to coincide with movie releases, etc. Marvel and DC do plenty. They create the characters. It's on WizKids to sell the game. And I mean, honestly, WizKids does limited runs on the stuff, and you'll find that stuff does run out of stock. Go find me a Mighty Thor brick. Let me know how much that cost you if you find one. Because when a set sells, a set sells. This game is doing fine as far as sales are concerned. And you know, they've come a long way from where I was a naysayer about a year ago, saying we maybe had 2 to 3 years left in the game. I'm less there now. There's still things they could be doing, but I think they're doing everything they need to be doing to market, sell, and play this game. It is HeroClix is their WizKids' best-selling game. It's not a huge company. And it did drop in the statistics recently from like 4th selling game to 9th selling game, 9th or 10th. But a lot of that is predicated on the fact that Keyforge, from out of nowhere, just kind of dominated the market all of a sudden. There's a new Transformers card game that just kind of came out. But what you'll find is a lot of these games are flash in the pans, and HeroClix will find its way back up. It's cyclical for this. And it happened. Everybody got excited. Versus System, top selling game when it first came out. Like it literally it actually dethroned Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. Everyone's like, what something did that? And then they buried themselves. So I mean, Star Wars Destiny is still doing fairly well, so kudos to them. But it all depends on the game cycle. HeroClix is a survivor game. It'll survive. It has survived quite a few things, and I think it's going to do fine. And it's really not Marvel or DC's job to promote when it comes to this kind of stuff. It is their own. It is the company that makes the game. It's their problem to market it, and yeah. So, and it's also on the stores to sell the product. It's kind of a two-way street. So it surprises me that I haven't heard a lot about this game until now, and this coming from someone who's played a lot of major card games out there. I mean, it depends on when you found out about it. I mean, the first 2 years of this game, there was advertisements in all the gaming magazines all over the place. Every major place where you would find out about this, it was there 15 years ago. They just don't have quite the same marketing leg that they used to. I mean, I don't think they have. They have like a dude who we talk to sometimes. We're part of the marketing leg. Yeah. So, you know, we're on Facebook. We have our followers. We sell to 2,000 people on their behalf because ever since, what was the set? Was it Deadpool and the X-Force would have been our first sponsor? No, that wasn't our first.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the second one.
Was that our first sponsored set? There we go. So from the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set to now, we've
Heroes in a Half Shell.
Heroes in a Half Shell. Yeah. From that set, we've been sponsored by WizKids in order to help promote the game. So they're doing more of an internet-based marketing these days. And, you know, it's weird that you've only just heard about the game. These things happen. It's not as big a game as it could be. It's not a marketed game as you would think it is. But, you know, when it comes down to it, you ask yourself, or you go and ask in a store, hey, I just saw X movie, like the Marvel. I just watched a Marvel movie. Is there like a collectible game based on this? Then your store should be telling you HeroClix, because it's the only comic book based one that exists. And it has existed for 15 years. Shame on your LGS. Shame. Hold on a second. I got something for this. Do I have this? Is it on this phone?
Oh, I don't think
Oh, it's right there.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, I got it.
Shame.
On your store. I'm done my rant.
I know. You touched on a lot of the things that I was going to say. Much like Jason was saying earlier, where the design aspects of the game is not WizKids under their control when it comes to what is allowed in the game, what they're going to make HeroClix of. The flip side of that is that it's not on Marvel or DC or Disney to market the game.
They're just over there collecting the money.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you want the license to use our stuff? Okay, pay us X amount of money for the license. You're allowed to do this, this, and this. Follow your rules. Check in on us anytime you need something new. And, yeah, have fun. Like, help us collect money.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And I know we've discussed on many of our different shows before, even though WizKids is owned and run underneath the big NECA umbrella, the actual WizKids office themselves, the guys in Hillside,
Hillside, New Jersey.
Yeah. It's a small office. It's a small group of people. They not a huge company, so they don't need to be spending thousands of dollars marketing, putting splash pages in comics anymore. Especially when it comes down to it, marketing on the internet is more or less free. They have a Facebook.
It gives you money now.
Yeah. They have a Facebook. They have a Twitter. They have an Instagram that they've actually been using a lot more lately.
They have a YouTube.
And then by extension, they have us. A lot of the times, and I don't mean us specifically, Married with Cliff.
We are their marketing! We're not.
I mean us are the player base of the game. Because so many games like this survive because of word of mouth. And a lot of that is also your gaming store. There is marketing material that they can print out off of WizKids' website. Sometimes that marketing material may come in packages that get sent to them from the product.
Remember the ID card?
Yeah. and things like that. And then from WizKids to the store, from like DC and Marvel to WizKids to the store to us, we're the last leg of this. It's up to us to promote and advertise, basically.
It's not our responsibility.
No, it's not our responsibility at all. But that's a lot of where it comes from. Word of mouth, popularity, Google algorithms. I mean, hey, Google HeroClix, we're pretty much at the top. No.
The flexes. Oh.
What I meant by that is it shows up on YouTube. If you put HeroClix into YouTube, you'll end up with a whole bunch of fan videos about the game, people playing the game, people talking about the game. This is how you market in today's market. This is how you do it. Social media is how you promote things. Mm-hmm. You don't need giant posters on the side of a bus anymore.
Yeah. Long and short of it is when it comes to advertising, it's not Marvel and DC. Marvel and DC have to advertise Marvel and DC. They don't have to, if they make a toy deal, it's up to Mattel or whoever's making their toys now. I'm just dropping a toy name I'm familiar with. It's up to Mattel to advertise their toys. In fact, Mattel has to pay Marvel to put their toy advertisements in Marvel Comics. So they're Marvel toy comics. Marvel might be like, oh, you're going to get money if you advertise? Okay. Yeah, we'll give you a discount, but you still got to pay because they're about to lose pages in their book. It's all real estate. Marketing is not an easy thing, and I'm pretty sure the cost to do what they're doing versus the cost to do what they could do just don't add up, where it's like, I'm going to take a one-page spread in a comic book, might cost $100,000, let's say. But these guys have 3,000, almost 3,000 followers on on YouTube, and you know, if we send them a box of HeroClix, people will see what HeroClix look like. They will, and you know, people who are familiar with the game will get another video out of it and the review of the game, the in-box product. So ultimately, video games are kind of going this way too. It's like they won't send out review copies to reviewers anymore. They're more likely to send them to the people who are playing games and streaming games and whatnot. They get a more live, visceral opinion of it. And you know, it's just a thing. They're changing their advertising because they're
Speedrunners. Sorry.
What?
Sorry, we were talking about reviews of people like playing the game, and a big market of the early copies are going to speedrunners now.
No, streamers, not speedrunners. Speedrunners break games. You don't send speedrunners your game. You send it to streamers, Amber. Because you know what's going to happen if you send a speedrunner your game? Your coders are going to get angry at that guy.
Brought it up because one of the speedrunners that I follow got an early copy of Resident Evil.
Because he also plays Resident Evil, Amber, because he's a streamer. he's a unique case. he is a unique little snowflake in the world of
snowflake.
Everybody is. I'm a unique snowflake just like everybody. Anyway, at length, WizKids is doing their best. They have like 6 people who work in their office. One of them's in charge of rules. Are we done?
I think so.
I think we're done. Oh, and Nathaniel wants to say he's going to win hit map roll with his 30 Floras. Cool. I hope on one turn none of them heal and you get energy exploded. Also, you can't touch another person's starting area. So 30 Floral Colossals, that's 4 squares each. So 30 times 4 is 120 squares. That's more squares than are on the map. Therefore, you can't place some of them. You have lost some. All right. I think we're done. We're done. We're done? Done. Anything you want to say before we leave?
No, I think I've said more than enough today because I keep breaking myself.
Yeah. She keeps saying words. She's so wonderful. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be off for the weekend. Off to WKOsville.
You will get a move and attack tomorrow. We'll get more move and attack.
Is it edited already?
No. Filmed this weekend. And we may actually do some live stuff from WKO. We'll see how that goes.
All right. All right. So now I got to do this. Or I do this. Then I got to do this. And then I do